Cruelty in the Trump administration. That's what I want to talk about today. Because the Trump administration has turned human suffering into policy. And this isn't about border security or economic reform. This is about deliberate pain and suffering that's been chosen, executed, and televised. And that's because in this White House, cruelty isn't a side effect. It's literally the message. Before I get started today, welcome back once again to the Mr. Global channel. I really appreciate all my new followers and subscribers. Please like and share if you don't mind. Did you know that in the last year, over 10,000 people in the United States were thrown into solitary confinement by U.S. immigration? Over 10,000 people. And, you know, some of them was days, some of them was months. Yeah. According to a Guardian investigation, you know, these were not violent criminals, as we've seen. They were asylum seekers, survivors of trauma, people with mental health issues. The UN calls, you know, solitary beyond 15 days torture, psychological torture, to be exact. The Trump administration calls it standard procedure. Inside ICE facilities, the lights stay on 24 hours a day. People go weeks without contact, medical attention, sunlight. And it's because isolation breaks people. It breaks them. And you want to deter something such as migration, breaking people, unfortunately, for the Trump administration, is the point. And back in May, the Supreme Court gave the Trump administration the green light. They let his administration end protections for over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela. These were families who lived here legally for many, many years under humanitarian protection. They worked, they paid taxes, they built communities. And then overnight, they were told, you're illegal again. 500,000 lives thrown into chaos and panic. People, parents hiding from ICE raids and kids terrified just to go to school. Critics have called it one of the largest mass illegalization events in modern history. The administration calls it law and order. But what it really is calculated cruelty, wielded as politics. And then you have the alligator, Alcatraz scandal, whatever that was. You know, if it couldn't get any darker, you have that. Of course, that was the detention camp built in Florida, surrounded by swamp and floodwater and alligators. Overcrowded tents, infested food, the lights on around the clock, no running water. Journalists called it a camp designed to disappear people. A camp designed to disappear people. ICE called it a temporary detention facility. But there's nothing temporary about state-sponsored misery. And the twisted part is that videos of the detainees are going viral, and the cruelty itself became a spectacle. And that's the second piece to this. You know, you turn people's suffering into content. You're dehumanizing these people. And why are they doing that? Why is that happening? Because part of this cruelty from the Trump administration is for their community. It's for Trump supporters. They get off on the cruelty. They love it. They want to see these people punished. That's why they're doing it. It's there was an article a few days ago in the Atlantic talking about this exact thing. They're feeding their masses this cruelty and they're eating it up. Now, there are some people in that camp that don't, but far too many do. Far too many do. And it's crazy if you think about it. And we're not just talking about immigrants. We're talking about cruelty to everyone. Cruelty to poor people. Tonight the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump an emergency stay so he doesn't have to fund SNAP. He could fund SNAP. Let's sit here and tell me he can't fund SNAP. He's just being cruel. He's using people as pawns in this game to keep the government shut down. And listen, don't think for a second that he wants the government to open. He doesn't. Doesn't want the government to open. Because this is truly the Epstein shutdown. He doesn't want the government open. I don't care what he says. I don't care what Mike Johnson says. I don't care what any of them say. They don't want the government open. The fact of the matter is the reopening of the U.S. government could be the beginning of the end of the Trump administration. So while they can sit there and scream all they want that they want the government open, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. And speaking of Epstein and cruelty, the mocking of Epstein survivors, the mocking of women in general, the degradation of women in general, blows my mind. How the Republican Party can ever win the women vote again, I don't see it happening. I have never seen a group of people more disrespectful and hateful towards women in this country than the Republican Party right now. It blows my mind. They don't even care. But let's be honest, that's who they are. That's the world they live in. Christian nationalists. Men are superior to women. Women are there to serve men. That's what they believe. Period. There's no question about that. And they'll try to kind of soften that message, but that's what they believe. The hardcore ones will tell you flat out that's what they believe. But the truth that, no one on cable news will tell you is the Trump administration isn't trying to fix any of these things. They're not trying to fix immigration. They're trying to weaponize it. They're trying to make pain a deterrent. Make fear a policy, make cruelty the point. And they're doing this in hopes that people stay silent. Because if people stay silent, then it becomes normal. We normalize it. We've normalized so many things in this country today that would have been insane even 10 years ago. You start with cages, camps, torture. Eventually, it all becomes business as usual, and we kind of forget about it. So no, this isn't about politics. This is about basic human decency and morality. And America the Beautiful, the super exceptional America, is completely failing at all of the above. At all of the above. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I really appreciate, once again, my new followers and subscribers. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys soon.